Hello, everyone. Again, Carl Fleich here with my co-host, John Hicks from the National Office. It's really good to be with you guys again for another podcast. Today, our topic is going to be providing something for every boy. We want to talk through our core competencies and then things we can do later on as far as enlisting others to help us with these topics. So let's just jump right into it. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I got my tea right here, my hot tea.
I've got my coffee, so it's a great day. So we're actually recording out of Evangel University.
Yeah.
Our media center is under construction and will be for the next 8 months. So we are going to be using their facilities. It's nice to have facilities such as what Evangel University offers, and so we really appreciate Evangel's hospitality in making this available to us.
Yeah, just being here at Evangel, I feel smarter already.
I know. Isn't that something?
I feel like there's like an assimilation of knowledge that's like soaking into my brain as soon as I walked in the door. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Hey, I need all the assimilation of knowledge I can get.
Absolutely. And in our offices, of course, our offices are all under construction right now. If you go by the national office, I think my office, I don't have any walls, literally. I mean, you can literally walk from my office right out onto the new veranda they're creating for me, which is actually the roof of the new entranceway. So it's really nice. So hopefully I'll be able to put a smoker out there and some lawn furniture or outdoor furniture. Mm-hmm. I doubt that's going to happen.
Hey, a smoker would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
For lunch every day.
Come on now.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, let's jump into our topic.
I'm getting hungry now.
And everybody else is too.
Yeah.
So providing something for every boy. You know, that's one of the strengths of our ministry, Royal Rangers, over the years as we used to be focused one way. And outdoor, with outdoor feature and camping and such. And that was wonderful. I mean, great resource that way. But we've also recognized that not every boy is an outdoor boy.
Yeah.
And likes to be outdoor. And so our vision, our mission, of course, is evangelizing, equipping, and empowering. But our vision is to influence more boys than ever, more effectively than ever. Mm-hmm. And so that required us to really be intentional about expanding what we're focusing on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an important point because, I mean, I grew up in Rangers as a kid in Rangers, and I loved camping and hiking and canoeing and fishing and all those kind of things. And many boys do. But several years ago, we just kind of realized that if we're going to reach every boy, we really have to provide a variety of activities that appeal to every boy's interest.
Yeah.
Because there are boys out there who have no interest in sleeping in a tent in the woods. I mean, I know it sounds odd to some of us. It's like, how could you not like that? But there are boys out there who that's just not their thing. They would love to go play basketball all day or play golf or do tennis or go to a stock car derby or other things, but camping or hiking or backpacking is just not something they're interested in. So if we're going to reach every boy, we have to provide activities for all kinds of boys. And that's where several years ago we developed this idea, this thing we call the core competencies, which is where we kind of looked at boys today and said, what are the things that boys generally are interested in, boys and men, because men are just overgrown boys. And the interests of men is essentially the same as interests of boys. We just have a little more money, have a little more capability.
Have nicer toys.
Enjoy those. Yes, we have nicer toys.
Although I'm not sure about that with kids today.
Yeah, I know. Some of them have better toys than I do. But
Absolutely.
Anyway. So we identified 5 categories of activities that we believe that boys today are interested in.
That's right.
And just kind of looking at those, the first one really is...
Well, before we jump into that, I just want to kind of make this, and I don't know if you remember this, but probably I think it was my second year as a national director. Really, I'd become aware, years ago, we used to have a version of Rangers called Urban Rangers, which was specifically Rangers for people in the inner city. Because, the idea is you couldn't be outdoors and all of that kind of thing. And I can remember I started really thinking, do we need to revive that ministry? In fact, I found a ball cap that said Urban Rangers on it and all of that. And it was interesting because that following summer, I was actually in New York for their powwow. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to talk to some leaders. In fact, it was interesting because 2 outposts were there for the very first time. One was from the Bronx and one was from Queens. And so as I was talking with them, I thought, well, this is a great time to talk about this Urban Ranger thing that we're developing. And I thought I'm going to gather some insight from them of what their needs are and what we can provide and such. And as I started having that conversation with them independently of each other, both of them said to me, we don't need that. And I said, what do you mean? They said, we actually, everything that's provided in Rangers now, since we've introduced these 5 competencies, everything that we need in Royal Rangers, we already have. Mm-hmm. And so I became very aware of it quickly that the ones who we thought we were having to create some new resources for were saying, we right now have all we need in Royal Rangers to focus on. And I mean, they weren't doing outdoor camping or any of those kind because they were inner city. Mm-hmm. In fact, there wasn't a whole lot of grass where they were. So, so anyway, just a what's the word I'm looking for? Affirmation that where we're going with these competencies really is effective.
Yeah, and the way that the advancement system works is, the local leader can choose what activities his boys are going to do.
That's right.
So if you're in a church out in the middle of rural Alabama and you're in a rural area where lakes and rivers and creeks and hunting and hiking are all popular with the people in your community, absolutely, that's going to work great for you. But if you're in inner city Atlanta, it may be a totally different story.
Absolutely.
Where none of those things are going to be relevant to you. Right. So that's where you can focus more on technology and arts and science and things that your boys are interested in. So that's the key. That's really what we're talking about today, is that you've got to figure out what are your boys in your community interested in. Not just the boys in your church.
Right. That's right.
Not just the leaders in your church, but what are the boys in your community interested in, and then provide activities that align with those interests.
And that's an important point because in Rangers, we know kind of on an average about 40% of the boys that come to your church aren't from your church. And in that way, Rangers is a very strong outreach type program. So don't just look at the interests of your boys, but look at the interests of the boys in the community, because you're going to be drawing them in. And of course, your boys as well, because if your boys are having a good time, they're going to invite their friends. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get so many in. And so that's an important part. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later on. It's not just one of these competencies you focus on, but I think the WISE Outpost actually looks at the combination of different competencies and builds their program around maybe 2 or 3 or 4, maybe even all 5 of them. And that's important, because I think when we first came out with the idea of the core competencies and these 5 different categories of activities that boys are interested in, there are some people that got the idea that, my outpost is going to choose one of these and that's what we're going to be. We're going to be a science and technology outpost, or we're going to be a sports outpost, or we're going to be an outdoors outpost. And the problem with doing that is as soon as you choose one, you basically alienate any boys that are interested in any of the Something
others.
Different. That's
so you could say, we're going to be a sports outpost. Well, the problem is there's a lot of boys in your community who may not be real athletic, or they're just not really into sports. So you've essentially alienated any of those boys.
Yep.
And that's not what you want to do. If you're going to reach every boy in your community, you got to provide something for every boy.
So I'll refer back to our vision statement, influencing more boys than ever, more effectively than ever.
I've heard that somewhere before.
I think so. That's kind of a cool statement, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, we should make T-shirts. Wait a minute. We had T-shirts. Anyway.
Well, I don't think we ever did for our vision statement. Maybe that's a good one to look at.
Anyway.
JR, take note of that. Okay. All right. So let's jump into our competencies.
Okay. So we just kind of talk about each one at a time. So we've got 5 of them. So we're going to talk about outdoor activities, sports and fitness, trade skills, science and technology, and arts and culture. So those are the 5. So let's talk about outdoor activities, because that's really where we started. That's probably the most common activities that Ranger leaders and outposts and groups do. And outdoor activities are still a core part of Rangers. They're still a big part of what we do.
They're a critical part of Rangers, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
So we, we've never walked away from that. We've never said, Rangers isn't all about camping. We don't do camping anymore. Well, it's not all about camping. It's not the only thing we do. But National Camporama is a camp out. I mean, if you come to National Camporama, you're going to sleep in a tent.
Thousands of men and
then there's trees all around you, and so it's a camping event. Most of our districts,
we do have some cabins for rent. I'm just saying.
Shameless pitch there.
So if you haven't registered for Camporama, make sure you jump on and do that.
And the deadline is only a couple of weeks away. The cheapest deadline is only a couple of weeks away. Anyway, so outdoor activities are really common. I mean, camping, hiking, canoeing, backpacking. There's a variety of outdoor skills that a lot of leaders and boys love to do. And again, if you're in an area of the country where those type of activities are popular, that's absolutely probably going to be the way that you're going to really focus on to attract men and boys in your area.
Absolutely. And understand, outdoors doesn't mean just camping. There's so many things you can do outdoors, hiking like you mentioned and all, that have nothing to do with sleeping in the outdoors or whatnot all. But the outdoors is such a critical part. Mm-hmm. I think even when of all of the competencies, I think whatever anybody does, they ought to at least give a nod to the outdoor element, because Scripture is so clear about how important the outdoors is.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible tells us that all of creation speaks to the attributes and the existence of God, and that's an important part that I think for every boy, even those who aren't used to being outdoors, get them outdoors a little bit.
Yeah.
There's so many studies, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here a little bit, but there are so many studies that have been done in the last, 6, 7, 8 years of the importance of how so many of our kids have ADHD and such like that. And it has been established and shown over and over again that introducing outdoor instruction or outdoor time to our young people, it helps with those kind of things. Behavioral problems, all of that. So anyway, that's kind of just a plug. I know that's not where we're going with this, but,
but absolutely.
Outdoor is an important piece for our young men.
It is. There's just something about connecting with God in that environment where you're surrounded by the things that He created and no man created.
That's right.
When you're out in the woods where you're surrounded by trees and brush and hills and mountains, and you see the sunrise coming up and you hear the crickets and the birds, and there's something about that environment that it's like you can't deny the existence of God when you see these wonderful, amazing things that He created. And you find yourself right there in the middle of them. Sometimes when we live in the middle of town and you're surrounded by concrete and brick and all the things that man created, it's easy to lose sight of that.
Yes.
I mean, God is still there. God is still just as strong and as powerful in the city as He is in the country. But there's something special about sitting around a campfire at night, or just being out, seeing the sunrise come up in the morning. So it's an amazing experience. But again, we realize that there are boys who that's not their thing. It's not what they want to do, and we want to reach every boy. So we're going to do more than that. But that does not in any means we don't intend by any means to diminish the value of our outdoor activities.
True. That's true. We can say so much more about this. That might even be a podcast topic in the future.
Yes, it could be.
The importance of it. But anyway, so outdoor is a critical piece in what we do, and there's so many ways to engage the outdoor.
Yeah.
What are some other ones?
Then another area that we focus on is sports and fitness.
Right.
So sports is a big deal with a lot of people today.
There's
a whole lot of money that gets spent on
those Chiefs?
The NFL and all the sports that are popular today. My father-in-law and brother-in-law they're both really into sports, and when we have family activities, we get together for Thanksgiving, Christmas, they can quote every stat from every player that has ever played for any team anywhere in the world. And I'm just sitting there like, I have no clue what they're talking about. But hey,
you're not a sports guy.
I mean, I enjoy watching the game, but he made a touchdown. I have no idea who that was or what his stats are, but he did a good job. But I mean, and that's what we have to understand is just because I am not a sports person doesn't mean that I don't want to reach boys who are also interested in sports.
That's a
because
good point,
there are boys that are very much into soccer or baseball or football or whatever, and I'm going to go to their baseball games. I'm going to go to their football games.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go to their soccer games. I'm going to connect with them, and we're going to get together as a group and go to a baseball game. Or there's things that we can do that will attract boys to being a part of our ranger groups.
That's true.
That involve sports, and if the boys in my community know there's a place in our group for you being a sports guy, they're going to be a lot more likely to want to come and be a part of what we do.
Absolutely. And you said it, and I think it's worth repeating again. It's about what's interesting to the boys, not to me.
Yep.
Right?
And there are sports you can do that aren't necessarily physical either. I mean, not all sports are like physical. There are things like disc golf, for example. That's a popular thing today. You don't have to be a crazy athletic guy to enjoy disc golf.
That's right.
And there are disc golf courses all over the country, and we created a disc golf merit just not long ago. Or you got things like darts. I mean, darts is actually a sport. Like there's competitions.
Absolutely,
you
you
can win championships on darts. I mean, darts is a lot of fun. I'm not sure I always get the point of it, but it's. I think it's.
Well, and if you're not interested in that,
that was a dad joke, by the way.
I just kind of ran right over that, didn't I? So, but if you're not. That's not your thing. What a great way to get other men involved, and we'll talk about that maybe a little bit at the end of this time. But there are men in your church that they have interests that you don't know about, or that maybe isn't one of your interests, but you draw them in because you can utilize their knowledge and their skill in that, and they can help round out your outpost.
Absolutely,
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point because there are certain things that I'm interested in but there are other things that I'm not. But just because I'm not interested in cooking or some other skill doesn't mean there isn't someone else in my church that would love to come and show the boys how to set up a barbecue grill and cook steaks on the grill. That's something that there are other men that have that skill that would be great at doing that. So I don't have to do it all myself.
We just did a firecraft merit, and I taught him how to burn hot dogs over the fire.
Oh,
it was awesome.
Yeah.
I could have made a cooking merit out of it. Anyway,
you could. Yes, I love
all right.
charbroiled.
So the next one, of course, is a great way to pull guys in, and it's our trade skills.
Yeah, trade skills. So trade skills is the category that when you think of, okay, what are we talking about as trade skills? You're really talking about those things that a boy might actually make a career out of or a life out of. Things like carpentry or plumbing or it could be auto mechanics. Auto mechanics is a really good one. When I was teaching Expedition Ranger several years ago, we were kind of talking with the boys about, okay, what skill merits, what kind of activity should we do? And I suggested auto mechanics. And at first, most of them were sort of like, I'm not sure that's a great activity. They weren't really the grease monkey kind of guys.
Sure.
I mean, they were more the sports group. But I said, the deal is, every one of you probably either owns a car or will own a car within the next few years. And you need to know how to do basic things. You need to know how to check the fluids in your car. You need to know how to change a flat tire. You need to know how to jump start a car. I mean,
absolutely.
Heaven forbid you come out of school one day and that girl, you've been trying to get her attention for weeks and her car won't start. And she looks at you and says, can you help me jump start my car? And you have to say, hold on, let me go call my mom.
Yeah.
No.
Wouldn't that be sad?
That would not be a way to win that girl over.
So there you go, dating through technology.
Yes, there could be a purpose. There could be a purpose behind this. Yes, yeah. Or that girl who loves to fish might be an opportunity to start fishing. I don't know. So anyway,
all right, John, way to bring that into practicality for our young men. Awesome. So trades is a great skill. Develop confidence. I mean, that's one. All of these competencies. What they're designed to do is not only add interest to the outpost, but it develops competencies within. Well, that's why we call it competencies. Yeah. But it helps that boy develop confidence, because as he learns these skills, I mean, that's a cool thing to have.
Yeah. And when you're talking about trade skills, it's really a variety of things. I mean, it's not just carpentry and plumbing, but also things like cooking can be a trade skill. There's a lot of guys who love to cook and are very creative at it, and they love to either the barbecue thing or the chef thing or cooking with a wok or whatever.
Back in August, I did a 3-day backpacking trip with a bunch of guys from southern Missouri. And we had the one boy. You were with us, and we actually did a video on that. But one of the boys there was a chef. I mean, he was a chef. Mm-hmm. He brought a big old cast iron skillet with him, and I mean, he cooked some of the best food over that campfire that I've ever eaten on a campfire.
Yeah. And they brought steaks.
Yes, they did.
They brought steaks.
But to your point, that is a skill. That's right. Absolutely,
it is. So, and then things like budget and finance. I mean, learning how to manage your money. That's an important skill that every boy needs to learn. Or like first aid skills. Yes. I mean, that's important for sports or outdoor activities or anything. It's good to have someone who knows how to deal with basic first aid.
Teach your boy how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
How important is that? So anyway, So let's talk about some of the other ones.
So those are all valuable
skills. 3 so
skills.
far. We've talked about outdoor. We've talked about sports.
Yeah.
We've talked about trades. What's number 4?
Then another one that is growing in popularity probably is science and technology.
Yes.
And that can be anything from space exploration or chemistry or amateur radio, communications, computer programming, or app development. Those are all things that can be really interesting to boys today.
Very much so.
That you may very well attract that techie kid who has no interest in going backpacking and has no desire to go to the football game, but he would love to sit and learn how to build an app for a smartphone. And there are free platforms out there that you can use for those types of things that boys can learn so much from. Yep. So we updated the space exploration merit a couple of years ago, and so that's a fun one to do. Or an outpost that I used to serve at with Michael at Liberty, actually used to be in the national office. Mike used to do a merit on fingerprinting, and we have a merit on fingerprinting. And you think, well, fingerprinting doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but I was amazed at how much those little guys got into fingerprinting.
Well, with all the law enforcement stuff on TV, like the crime shows and different things like that, and I could see a boy who's interested in going into that element of career.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's
but to your point, everybody, I mean, there's fingerprints everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, someone's got your fingerprints. Yeah. Google probably has it. Everybody's got it.
And then our final competency would be
Yeah, it would be arts and culture.
That's right.
And that's the category that's sort of like everything that has to do with history or art or drama or music or anything like that.
Yeah.
So those, and that's kind of a category that probably often may be the area that many men are least experienced with, and maybe most likely to be reaching out to someone for help, just because a lot of guys, we tend to be strong in the trade skills and the outdoor stuff and things like that. But when it comes to arts and music and culture, that may be something we might lean more on bringing in someone else. But again, there are men in your church, there are men in your community who would love to come in and teach the boys how to use a keyboard or how to play a guitar or how to do drama. I've always really valued and appreciated our National Fine Arts program that the youth department puts on.
Incredible.
It's amazing the skills
really
that
is.
some of those kids have.
Yes. And they get to develop those as young people.
Yes.
That man, a lot of times they'll enter into careers or into, and they're already ahead of the game because of the experience that they've had, not only in learning how to minister through fine arts, but through learning those skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
And developing those skills and competing. And that's a phenomenal program.
Yeah, and that whole program is about helping kids or young people. I call them kids, but I mean, when you're out, anyone under 20 is a kid.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I mean, it's all about helping young people discover their skills and talents and then develop them within an environment that is encouraging and helpful and helps them to help them become better in that, and then provide a way and help them to find a way to use that within the context of ministry. And that's just a great thing. That's a great thing. So these
competencies not only help us draw the kids in, and because again, the whole key of everything we want to bring in elements that interest the kid, because the more time now I'm saying it, the boy, the young man, because the more time we spend with them, the more influence we have in their lives. Yeah. And it's all about ultimately mentoring that boy. And so that is a critical piece and a critical component. With that also is being able to enlist other people. Yeah. When we expand our competencies and we make sure that we're not just singularly focused, but we have multiple ones, it makes it so much easier for us to be able to draw in, as we've already said a few times, draw other men in who can come in. And you know what? The wise outpost commander is not going to. The least effective way for us to get someone to say, would you come in for the next 6 years, would you teach the 3rd through 5th grade boys?
Yeah, from now until Jesus comes, you are in that room.
But you can sure go up to someone like, for someone who's maybe a computer technology, in that area. Would you come in and for 3 weeks teach our computer science merit, or something like that? And that leader will come in and for 3 weeks, because it's something he's familiar with, he's already skilled in that. He doesn't have to do a lot of research and study for it. Yeah. But he comes in and he shares from his knowledge base. Man, those boys will be intrigued by that. They'll listen to that. Even boys that maybe aren't familiar with that will still learn something and be intrigued by that. But now that leader is making a connect with other leaders as well as with those boys. Yeah. And what a great way to slowly bring them in, help them become part of that. And pretty soon that man that's been sitting in church and he's hearing pastor talk about that God has a plan for his life and wants to use him somehow for the kingdom of God, he's sitting there thinking, how can I take and bring what I hear as far as on Sunday morning into my technology world. But now he has a way of being able to act that out. Yeah, yeah. And what a powerful way of, just as we've expanded that, not only just bringing in the outdoors guy or the rugged, sports guy or whatever, we're bringing in all of these different elements and really rounding out and creating a quality program that affects every boy, influencing more boys than ever, more effectively than ever.
That's a great tagline. We should make T-shirts.
Something like that. So anyway, so it really, I'll tell you what, we really do work hard to make sure, and as an outpost leader, our encouragement to you is make sure you are too. Make sure you're looking for every opportunity that you can to find ways to creatively bring in new topics so you can reach those boys, because again, that creates the opportunity for that boy to hang out with you, which gives you the opportunity to influence their lives and help them come to know Jesus Christ. Amen. Any last thoughts on this, John? I know we need to wrap it up here, but...
No, I think that's a great idea. It's just the key is we're providing something for every boy, and we want to reach every boy. We've got to provide activities that are attractive to every boy. And like you said, we can also reach every man. If you provide a place in your ministry for every man to get involved, doesn't have to be a full-time permanent commitment. It can be come in for a few weeks and serve. A lot of men are just they're looking for that opportunity.
Oh,
they would love
hungry
to have
for
that
it.
opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we want to give them the opportunity to serve in a context that fits their capabilities and their time frame.
Absolutely. That's a great point, and that's something we need to be aware of. So, leader, thank you again for everything you do. The investment that you make in the lives of those boys, it has eternal consequences. And so thank you again. As we always say, you are the front line. You are the ones that make the ministry happen. It's our joy today just to be able to talk to you a little bit about the competencies and remind you of how those are a critical part of what we do in Royal Rangers. Make sure your Ranger program is a well-rounded program. And because of that, you're going to have well-rounded leaders, well-rounded boys, and we're going to see how effectively God uses that to create the next generation of Christ-like men. Thank you again for what you're doing. Thanks for being part of this podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time. God bless you guys.